transmit, distinguish yourself as another person or party than the artificial person, then the two will be separated. That is why status correction is important. Once you separate the two, right? So as you move forward, this is how you complete your name once your status is updated. Lawful name, the lawful man, and authorized representative doing business as all caps, the artificial person, right? The government's power are all significantly reduced. As you move forward, you separate the two. Separate your lawful name from your legal name. The government only has the power to enforce its will on the strawman or artificial you because the artificial you is a corporation. And the corporation can only deal with other corporations. Fictions can only deal with fictions. Corporations cannot communicate with the man, only the artificial man. Right? So as we'll go in and see, everywhere we turn, right, that there is proof that that the United States classifies human beings as corporations, right? Simply because the United States is a corporation in and of itself, right? So let's see. We're going to go in and I'm going to show you how this actually looks. Every business, as you know, is required to have a UCC filing on on file within the United States, right? So this is in the state of Delaware, right? Under the business search. So as you can see, the file number that we are going to enter is 2193946, and we search it, and that brings up the United States of America Incorporated, right? So this is proof that the government is a corporation. And I recommend that you go in and you print this out. I mean, you go in and if you're able to go in and research this, print it out, print a copy of it out. So that way you always have a reference of it, right? But it lets you know it's a domestic corporation. The entity name is the United States of America, right? So the United States is a corporation. So the reason why they went in to convert everyone to that 4724 definition of a business is so they can have a means to communicate with us. Right? That is why status correction is critical. So that way you can control those communications. Right? Every state has codified in their libraries the slave laws. Looking at Georgia slave laws titled A Codification of the Statute Laws of Georgia, right? It states that under the jurisdiction of the inferior court, that several counties of the state shall have jurisdiction of the several offenses created or mentioned by this act. By the Constitution of the state, the jurisdiction may be entertained by them. This is all listed under free persons of color. Exceptions in favor of Abirangs, Moors, or Hindus. The provisions, prohibitions, and penalties of this act shall not extend to any American Indian, Free Moor, or Lascar, but the burden of proof in all cases of arrest or any person of color shall be on such person of color to show him or herself exempt from the operation of this act. To show him or herself exempt from the operations of this act. Correct your status. Right? Which leads us to correcting our status. Right? The first document a United States citizen, right, could file to correct their status with the government is the United States passport application, as we've seen directly on the State Department's website, also known as the DS-11. Right? So we use this passport process to correct your citizenship status and to get added to the do not detain, do not arrest list. So essentially what this list is not a list that you can see. But once you go in and you update your status, you receive that FOIA information back. So that certified copy of the passport application, you want to put all parties on notice of that change in citizenship. So you will send the state a copy of it. When I mean the state, I mean your Secretary of State. The federal government already has it, right? Send it to the state attorney general where you live at, the state sheriff, the mayor, right? You want to make sure you put everyone on notice of your updated status, right? When you have your passport book and card, there is no need for you to show your driver's license anymore because that passport or that government ID has precedence over that driver's license. Because a license, again, is a privilege. A passport confirms your right to travel. Understand that difference. Right? The proper correcting of your American national citizenship status removes you from the jurisdiction of that 4 USC 110, that 28 USC 3002, that Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, federal government. From there, it is all about enforcing your rights and knowing what to do, where to go, how to get your remedy, how to seek equity, how to rescind, right? How to get any lawful payments and credits returned to you back when you've been violated. Right? As I stated, it's all about notice. You put everyone on notice to let them know that you're not a citizen. Right? Therefore, now as you move forward, your participation is 100% voluntary. Right? When you go in and you get pulled over, you show the police your passport card, they put the number of, they'll see in the system that you're not a citizen because that is how you completed your application. Right? The same way they go in and enter your license information to see if you have any registration or whatever they do, they can do the same thing with a passport card. Same exact thing. Right? So if we look on page 4 of the acts and conditions portion of the application, it requires you to understand how the electoral process operates, which is why we talked about that right to vote. When the right to vote for any representative for the choice of electors for president is denied to any male, the whole number of representatives shall be reduced according to the whole number of citizens over the age of 21, except when a male inhabitant or citizen has participated in rebellion or committed a crime. Then the representative shall usurp the whole number of male inhabitants over the age of 21. So keep this in mind. The top portion matters unless you have committed a rebellion or a crime. Right? Many citizens of the United States will claim that they have not committed any crimes or engaged in any form of rebellion against the United States. Right? Correct. So you were sentenced to the state in which you were born in. The state in which you were born, the state in which you were born in, that is where you were sentenced at, right? Many citizens of the United States will claim that they have not committed any crimes or engaged in any form of rebellion and should meet the requirement of having the right to actually vote, right? So as you can see, this is why your votes for the president do not matter, right? They do not matter because you currently are participating in rebellion or committing a crime. You are doing so until you rebut that presumption, right? So many citizens, right, would claim they should meet the requirements of having the right to vote for a representative, yet alone choose a president if they could, right? Again, it is essential to understand that after the Organic Act of 1871, the United States is located in DC and is not a country as we constantly describe. It is a federal corporation consisting of presidents, CEOs, CFOs, chairmen, and secretaries. True countries have kings, queens, princes, dukes, emperors, caesars, right? Therefore, a corporation is never to rely on the public to elect its president. Understand that, right? That is why when you look in places like the UK, they have these parliamentaries in place where actual citizens of that country are able to come out and actually have a voice in what's going on within their politics. When you get a chance, you actually go in and see what's going on in the UK with their politics and see exactly how their meetings work, right? It's completely different from how it operates in the United States. This is why we rescind our right to vote, because our right to vote doesn't matter anyway, right? So again, a corporation is not to rely on the public to elect the presidents or the chairmen. As a business, do you rely on anyone outside of your business to elect the CEO or the CFO of your operation? Right? No, right? It would be the responsibility of those who hold the highest number of shares in the company's certificates to make those decisions, who are the representatives, the Senate, and the state electorate, right? If now inhabitants or citizens of the United States over 21 participate in rebellion or commit crimes against the United States, their right to vote will be forfeited. It would be their whole number to exceed the entire amount of people they represent. How was that possible? Right? What crime could have been unknowingly committed by the citizens of the United States? The answer has always been in plain sight, especially to the citizens who travel the world. Right? The actual passport application allows each applicant to voluntarily state whether you are or not a criminal, right? So it gives you the option to go in and say if you are a criminal or not, right? For the use of federally form, the federal government reduces the number of inhabitants or citizens over the age of 21 against the representatives for the elector's choice, right? So let's go to page 4 of that application under acts and conditions. The government, in their very crafty and fraudulent ways, has deemed U.S. citizens to be criminals and rebel against the United States if you are not careful in comprehending basic, basic, basic instructions. You go in and you look at your DS11 application, most people will skip over everything and go straight to the part to where you complete the application. However, you have to read it because under acts and conditions, it states that if you've done any of the below, if you've done any of the below, it says if any of the below acts have been performed. So if you've done any of the below, a statement under oath or affirmation by the applicant should be attached to this application. I have not been convicted of a federal or state drug offense or a sex tourism crime statute. I am not the subject of an outstanding warrant, a criminal court order, or a subpoena, or a grand jury investigation, right? So it's telling you that if you've done any of this, then you have to attach a statement. Then it goes to lead off saying that I have not, right? So that to the average person, this will read as a double negative. If any of the below have been committed, if you've done any of the below, most people will skip over I have not. But it's explicitly telling you if you have not done any of these, there should be no reason why you are not attaching an explanatory statement to your passport application, right? There is no reason why you should not be attaching a statement to this application. If you have not done any of this, this is how they consider a citizen to be a criminal. So when you hear a lot of people say they consider citizens trading with the enemy, this is exactly why. Because you're failing to go in and rebut these presumptions, right? In addition to the questions, the most important part on the application, again, lies under the exit conditions section. You want to make sure that you attach that statement with full comprehension of the first sentence regarding the instructions. How many Americans have attached that required statement to that application? Right? Less than I would say probably less than 5% of the overall population. The directions clearly advise you on what you need to do in order to rebut that presumption of being a criminal. Right? And it is fascinating to see what Americans find before understanding word for word and how it implies and relates directly to them. These are one of the many taxes that the federal government used to entrap the people into voluntary participation in a rebellion, which is a criminal offense, which is why police do not protect and serve citizens, because citizens are enemies. Right? By completing this process properly, you have prevented yourself from participating in rebellion or openly admitting to a federal or state criminal offense, which is on record with the Department of State that can be obtained by way of a Freedom of Information Act request. So anyone can go in and request this information and prove that you are not a citizen or that you are a criminal or that you have participated in the rebellion but not rebutting those presumptions under the acts and conditions section of that application. Right? The government cannot force U.S. citizenship on anyone on taxes. They will always provide a way for equity if one has eyes to see and ears to listen. Right? This is kind of what we went through on this travel on the Secretary of State's website that goes in and lets you know that they are not providing you with any particular distinction once you update your status. Because your documents, which you submit, your explanatory statements, your proof of nationality, are the only things that matter. When applying, applicants must execute a Form DS-11 and show proof of your non-citizen national status as well as your identity. All right. When you apply for your passport, always apply for both the card and the book. Right? Having the passport card will resolve the need for having a real ID. As a national, one will be able to travel anywhere within the United States of America, as well as having the ability to operate an automobile